Shalom, my name is Yehoshua. I'm a didactic scientist and American citizen, uh, living in Jerusalem for the past 22 years. Hitch has gotten into it with Sean on the existence of God. The question, first and foremost, Sean, is not. First, congratulations on your efforts to engage Hitch. The problem with Hitch is an angry little boy, and he's flaming for attention, and I think he knows it. But having said that, let's get to some more substantive issue. First, he avoids first causes. He averts averts and avoids very carefully discussion of the more fundamental principles and tenets of science, and entire schools of philosophy, and he takes tremendous liberties. His extreme epistemological relativism is pointing fingers and accusing everybody of everything under the sun. But there's something very, very interesting going on right now, as Hitch is in ascent as one of the important atheists to be really listened to. I want to call attention to a phenomenon that has escaped Chris's attention, and that is the collapse of the local reality globally began 18 years ago. I'm a didactic scientist, as I said, and there are two methods of doing science: empirical and logical. Those are the primary methods, I should say. And there are many, many, many other methods, far more complex. But okay, that said, I observed the collapse of the local reality and followed it for years. It's spread globally, and it signifies the end of man and mankind's exile for the religious, and for Chris Hitchens and his secular humanism, having climbed the ladder to the top rung and arrived at atheism. He's an anti-theist, he says. Well, okay, he's whenever the theory gets into trouble, he changes the facts. But that's okay. So did Einstein. He's no Einstein. Be sure. Now, the problem is not God's existence. What Hitch doesn't know is that it's Hitch's existence that he's flaming about. And on a serious note, he has no relation with himself. And the God of the cosmos is a very big God and a very intimate God. And these exaggerated polemics and analogies of God watching in your moment, from the moment you're born, and day and night, and in your sleep, and when you go to when you die and go to the next world, and this is terrible. This is this polemical nonsense. Okay, but that said, the problem that Hitch faces is not God's existence. I repeat, it's Hitch's existence. Collapse of the local reality brings the end of man and mankind's exile. The old model of giving to receive is the anthropologic, psychologic, sociologic model of man and mankind's exile, and for the secular it was the same, giving to receive in the modern era. As we now have the end of that era, we for the secular there is the ascent to the postmodern era, which is the framework of the quantum reality for the secular, and for the religious, regardless of culture, whether Muslim or Christian or Jew, etc. It is the end of man and mankind's exile and ascent to the quantum reality, which is in general, it is the new East-West convergence model, which is Humanomics, and its central organizing principle: receiving to give. In Hebrew, kabel b'shvilatet, receiving to give means what? Receiving the authentic Christopher Hitchens, to give the authentic Christopher Hitchens to himself, to his wife, his children, his family, his community, his nation, and mankind. He doesn't know how to do that, and that's what he's flaming about. He doesn't exist, so God doesn't exist. Having said that, he issued a challenge, and the challenge was, you have to name for me an ethical statement that was made or a moral action that was performed by a religious person in the name of faith. And I said, and I made it. I said, so I answered his challenge. I said, that's me, and I'll make it. And that could not have been made as an action or uttered as a statement by a person of no faith. That's Christopher Hitchens. So I took him up and I said, here is my answer to your challenge. And the statement that I make, that you cannot make, is this. I said, truth is the information that never changes, parenthetically in finality, close parens. Changing, parenthetically in intentionality, close parens, period, end quote. And this is a very, very interesting statement. And it proves that Christopher doesn't know who the real Christopher is. That's why he can't make the statement. So I met his challenge. What I presented him with is a paradox that presumes itself to be a dilemma, and that is the condition of man in exile and the collapse of the local reality that ends it imposes a dichotomy. And this statement imposes the very dichotomy of man and mankind's redemption. Personally, at the level of ground zero and Chris Hitchens, he might want to fake it, he might want to bluff it, but I called his bluff and I answered him, and he's all of a sudden gone silent. He's not such the big bravado, the big anti-deist, atheist, spin. And his epistemological extreme relativism will not be of any use to him, won't help him. And his semantic engineering that is quite a dance, quite a spin, that won't help him either. But having said that, this was the answer that I provided. Now on to things more important. The collapse of the local reality has a purpose, and it is the ascent of man. And for that ascent to be successful, we have to answer. In the post-collapse of the local reality of man and mankind's exile, we have to answer the fundamental questions, and there are three. What creates life and sustainable human development life systems, and what creates sustainable wealth, and who am I, and why am I here? And Christopher doesn't have the answer to any of the three questions, but he gives a very credible articulation and spin. But that's the cultural model that he grew up in, that feigns certain capacities and capabilities that don't really reside with Christopher Hitchens. There's a bit of overextension here. He's not a scientist, and he's made a number of extreme assertions that challenge fundamental principles and tenets of science that he's unaware of. And then after he goes out on the limb and takes the saw of the angry little boy and saws himself off, and then his groupies are sending me emails demanding, you have to explain this and you have to explain that. And my answer is, why don't you go to this clown, this buffoon with his absolutely brilliant mind, but what a misuse of a very impressive instrument. What flaming massively for attention. Okay, so what do we have? We have an angry little boy. He had ground zero imposed upon him, 38 years. He's in denial. He's still in denial. He's flaming for attention. And he's got a kill daddy program, and he's got a kill mummy program, and he's read Freud, he claims. Well, he better go back and read Freud again, and he better this time read Skinner, Maslow, Pavlov, and a few hundred others, and he'll get some idea of the dysfunctionality of his arrested psychological and personality development, with some rather daunting. I don't say these things to hurt him, but to help him to realize that come down from the roof, children, before you hurt yourself, as the saying goes. Okay, I'm a didactic scientist. I'm the author of Humanomics Trilogy. It's Two Paradigms, Receive It to Give, which is its central organizing principle, the new economic paradigm, the integration of labor that replaces the old industrial model, the division of labor. I live in Jerusalem, and I thank you for listening, and I'm Yehoshua. Thank you. Shalom.